And that's where the nightmare for me happens, is that I can never find the next song after that. We were just talking about nightmares. Catch it on the podcast if you missed it. One of my DJ nightmares was Mr. Vane. Yeah, from so long ago. Man, oh man, that'll give you some insight. Okay, it's time for us to find out about Chris Abel's nightmares. So let's hit the sound. Not only is he a tech guy, tech reviewer, and all things techie tech. What's your recurring nightmare, Chris Abel?
A recurring nightmare? I don't really have one. The scariest thing I've ever faced is a broken mind. That usually kind of makes me wake up.
I thought for you it would be like, for sure, you calling technical support and they're like, are you sure your computer's plugged in? And then all of a sudden you realize you, Chris Abel, have called tech support and it was not plugged in. Like, to me, that would be like, man, worst nightmare ever for the tech guy.
Yeah, I mean, there have been, lots of scares like that, but I tend to scramble and get things up and running. I mean, that's the one thing with doing live broadcast is that the show always must go on.
Well, it's true. The show does go on, whether we like it or not, whether it works or not. So let's hope that our clips here do. AI robots. Okay, well, I heard a great phrase, Chris, that said, I want AI and robots to do the things I don't want to do. What I don't need is I don't need robots doing the things I wish I did, so I have to do the jobs that I don't want to do. Turns out not only are robots and AI better at it, they make more money than we do now.
Apparently, yeah. So, I mean, this is an astonishing milestone has been crossed. For many years, there have been attempts to create a robot that can create art. And I've seen all sorts of different variations of them over the years. But for the very first time, we have a painting created by a robot that actually is sold at Sotheby's, the famous art auction house, for an astonishing over $1,084,000. Just crazy. I mean, even Sotheby's, when they started this, because they thought, well, we want to experiment in this space, it's something we should do, they only expected it might reach $100,000 at best. But the moment that it went on sale, it got 27 bids right away. So this is astonishing that it has somehow reached $1 million. And as I said, there have been many attempts to try to do this with robots in the past. So it's kind of crazy. We all have to pay attention as to what's going on here. And best what I can tell you is it involves a humanoid woman robot named Ada. I've known about her for several years. She looks like a realistic woman from the waist up. And then she has one really mechanical robotic arm, which they've given her a paintbrush. And she is loaded with an artificial intelligence that's been fed all sorts of information about art. And they thought it would be fun to point her camera at a photograph of Alan Turing, the pioneer mathematician who's considered the father of modern day computer science, and have that artificial intelligence reinterpret that image using what it has learned about different art techniques like abstractism, pointillism, things like that. And so the result is a painting that they've put forth as being her portrait of what would be her god, Alan Turing, so AI God. And I guess that conceit has managed to win over the art world. And there have been people who have ponied up, as I said, over $1 million for this first painting.
That's crazy. That's more money. Like, it's crazy. I mean, it's a robot. That's like, I feel like that. Remember when you had like the 8-bit pictures that you would do back in the day, and you were like doing your XY coordinates? That'd be like printing that out on your dot matrix printer and someone giving you $100 for it and going, well done, sir.
Well, this is an area that's been explored multiple times. I mean, we've seen paintings that have been done by animals, elephants or dogs, and often those do sell for good money, but often as charity to be able to support
or an elephant, like
resources and stuff.
Elephant pictures, sign me up.
Sure. But in this case, a robot, I mean, the debate is how much of this does count as art. I would argue that the robot didn't decide what to paint. She was directed by a human being to take a look at a photograph of Alan Turing, and it's their conceit that she's making a painting of what would be her god. So, there's a human component here. It's not completely up to the machine, but there's something here that apparently has really, really triggered the art world that they're now taking this serious. And I find that fascinating.
All right. Well, where are we going next on selling tech art here with Chris Sable?
Well, I wanted to talk about back in 2011, I explored this. I did an experiment where I went to the Art Gallery of Ontario and I got to be the very first person to hack their paintings on the wall, which was an astonishing experience when I called them. They're like, "You want to do what?" Because this was 2011. I mean, it wasn't something people would know today what I was talking about, but back then they had no clue. And so I went as for one of my pieces that I did as a report. I went there and I set up my equipment and I took my technology and took their existing paintings on the walls and then reinterpreted them. Not that different from what Ada, the robot, has done. I've taken one painting called Gossip, which features two women that are having a good gossip. That's from 1888 was when the painting was made. And then I used software to break it down to its components and re-express it as typography, the word gossip repeated again and again. And I did this because I knew social media was happening. And I thought, taking an old concept of gossip and applying it to social media, which is our modern version of gossip, would be an interesting take from an artistic point of view. And then afterwards, I did that. I sat down with the AGO, their director of education, Kelly McKinley, for her opinion. I said, is this art? And could I conceivably sell it to make money? My first app that I used is called Word Photo, and it completely transforms the painting in terms of typography.
One of the tricky things is having people appreciate how a painting is constructed, and by putting the words in, you actually see things like highlights and shadow, so you understand almost like the skeletal system of the painting, which I have never seen the painting that way before.
Now, do you think that there's any chance that I could launch a career as an artist doing this?
You could.
I could, you think?
Empires have been built on lesser things.
Wow. And here we are.
And here we are, yeah. Someone just got $1 million for doing something that's
$1 million. So really, when you think about this, Chris, how badly did you screw this up when this was a while ago that you started this project and now a robot just got $1 million for a painting and you started this years ago? Oops.
I know. It's crazy. Well, I mean, I did it just for the fun of it. I mean, it was wild walking into the AGO with my equipment and setting it up, because we did it not when the AGO was closed, when it was open. And so visitors there were really, really concerned about me and checking me out. And I felt somebody was going to run off and go get security because of what we were doing and setting it up. But the AGO was very, very happy with what I did. It was something they never thought of, had never heard of again. I'm sure they've gotten lots of similar requests since then, but it was an amazing experience. I loved it.
Well, isn't that... that's maybe what you're saying when the way you say it is. This kind of what art is, right? Taking something, interpreting it, recreating it, and doing it, and maybe that's the essence of all of it. Maybe that's just what it should be. So maybe you're onto something, right? And
yeah, to ask the big, greater questions. I mean, I think sometimes we put too much onus on value, financial money opposed towards it. But I think just doing something that's interesting, that asks and explores the human condition, that's the real value there, whether you get a big price tag or not.
Yeah, well, and giving it to others and allowing their experience of it to be their experience of it. Absolutely. Chris Sable, as always, thank you very much. Next week, I hope we get to talk about the cat robot waiters that we've got on queue here. So we'll get to that next time, same place with Chris Sable. Thank you, brother.
All right, meow.
Maybe we'll see what Chris decides to paint with an app or a robot in between time. Ooh, a cat robot painting app. Now that'd be a good one. Shane Hewitt in the Night Shift.